Did you know that small businesses make up more than half of all cyber attack victims? And according to IBM's cost of a data breach report, the average breach for an SMB costs over $3 million, a price tag that's devastating for most companies.
Cybercriminals aren't just targeting large enterprises anymore. They've figured out that SMBs often lack security resources that bigger companies have, making them easy prey.
Welcome to Perimeter Perspective, the podcast that helps businesses navigate the ever changing world of cybersecurity so they can stay secure and thrive in the digital age. I'm Alyssa Birchfield, and I'm joined by my co host, Michael Moore. Together, we represent Next Perimeter, a cybersecurity and IT services firm helping businesses simplify security, reduce risk, and stay ahead of evolving threats.
And today, we're breaking down why SIEM and threat detection go hand in hand as the foundation of SMB cybersecurity. We'll unpack what these tools do, how they work, and why the old belief that SIEM is too expensive or complicated for SMBs is outdated. We'll also explore how Next Perimeter's SIEM is designed for modern businesses, using cloud-native integrations and lightweight deployment tools instead of bulky on-prem solutions. This means SMBs can get full security visibility without the hassle of managing costly infrastructure just to collect logs.
All right. So, Michael, before we even get into why SIEM or SIM is so important, can we address the elephant in the room here? How do you actually pronounce it?
The age-old debate. I've heard some people say SIEM, others say SIM, and then there's those that combine them and say SIEM. It's the GIF versus GIF of cybersecurity.
Okay, well, personally, I pronounce it SIEM, but honestly, as long as you're using it to actually detect threats, I guess it doesn't really matter what you call it.
Correct. The real takeaway here is not how you say it, but why you need it.
Fair enough. All right, so let's start there. A lot of SMBs still believe that they're too small to be targeted. Why is that a dangerous mindset?
Because that's precisely what cyber criminals are counting on. They know that small businesses typically have fewer security controls, making them easier to breach. And the threats, they're everywhere. Phishing scams trick employees into handing over their credentials. Compromised email accounts are used to launch financial fraud. And ransomware attacks can shut down a business overnight. But here's the real problem. Most SMBs don't realize they've been compromised until it's too late. Many of these attacks go undetected for weeks, sometimes even months, because SMBs lack real-time threat visibility. That's where SIEM and proactive threat detection make all the difference.
Okay, so let's break it down. What exactly is SIEM and why does it matter?
SIEM, Security Information and Event Management, serves as the backbone of modern threat detection. It collects, analyzes, and correlates security data from across your entire IT environment. It detects early warning signs of an attack before real damage is done.
So instead of businesses reacting after an attack happens, SIEM helps them spot threats before they escalate then.
Yes, think of SIEM as the nerve center of your security operations. It continuously monitors your devices, cloud applications, networks, and user activity in real time. The moment something unusual happens, like a login from an unexpected country, an employee suddenly accessing sensitive files at like 2 a.m., or suspicious network traffic, SIEM pieces together the clues to uncover the potential threats.
Got it. And so without SIEM, businesses wouldn't even know that anything was wrong then.
That's right. Businesses are left in the dark. Hackers could be stealing credentials, preparing a ransomware attack, or quietly spreading malware through the network. They wouldn't even know until it was too late.
And that's the really scary part. But SIEM isn't just staying the same, it's evolving too, right?
It most definitely is. Cybercriminals are getting smarter, and SIEM is keeping up. New advancements in AI-driven analytics and cloud automation are helping businesses detect threats faster, reduce false positives, and accelerate response times. So how do these SMBs keep up? That's where SIEM changes the game. It's not just about security, it's about business resilience. With SIEM, businesses get proactive threat detection, real-time visibility, and faster response times so they can stay ahead of the attackers instead of constantly playing defense.
Okay, Michael, this all sounds great and all, but let's be real for a second. A lot of SMBs still think that SIEM is too expensive, too complicated, or just too much. So, what's the truth here?
That's one of the biggest myths in cybersecurity. The real challenge isn't just cost, it's making SIEM work for SMBs without a dedicated security team. Here's what trips businesses up. First, SIEM is only valuable if it's properly tuned, but most SMBs don't have in-house security expertise to manage, analyze, and respond to alerts.
Right. It's not just about having the tool itself, it's about knowing what to do with it.
That's right. Second, traditional SIEMs took months to deploy and required constant maintenance. Next Perimeter SIEM is pre-configured and fully managed, so SMBs can start detecting threats on day one. And third, traditional SIEMs were notorious for alert overload. They'd flood IT teams with thousands of alerts, most of which weren't even real threats.
Yeah, I've heard that one quite a bit. So, can we talk about how AI helps actually fix that problem?
Great question. AI-powered SIEM helps in three big ways. First, it reduces alert fatigue by filtering out false positives to highlight the real threats. Second, it learns normal user behavior so it can detect anomalies such as an employee suddenly accessing files they've never touched before. And third, it improves response time and efficiency by prioritizing the most critical alerts so security teams can act fast.
So, instead of businesses being overwhelmed with data, AI gives them clear, actionable insights. Okay, so even with AI, though, businesses still need that human expertise to analyze and respond to critical threats, right?
Yes, that's where the Security Operations Center, or SOC, comes in. At Next Perimeter, our SOC team doesn't just detect threats, they analyze, prioritize, and escalate them before they turn into full-scale breaches. If something suspicious happens, AI assists by grouping related security events, minimizing noise, and prioritizing high-threat alerts. AI doesn't replace human expertise, it enhances it. By minimizing false positives and correlating data across systems, it allows SOC analysts to act faster and mitigate risk before they escalate.
So, it's not just a bunch of alerts, then, it's a real team watching over your business and stopping threats before it can cause damage.
Exactly. This is the difference between self-managed SIEM and managed SIEM with MXDR. Some SMBs just want the alerts and they'll handle the investigation on their own. Others need 24/7 managed security, where our SOC team actively stops threats in real time.
Do you have an example you could share with us to help our listeners really see the benefit of SIEM?
You know I do. It started as a normal workday for one of our clients, an SMB with a growing business and busy accounts payable team. Their inboxes were filled with the usual vendor invoices, payment confirmations, budget approvals. Everything seemed business as usual until it wasn't. Unbeknownst to them, a cybercriminal had been lurking in their email system for weeks, silently watching every conversation between their finance department and one of their key suppliers.
Wait, that's really interesting. So the attacker wasn't rushing to steal their information or lock them out. They were just kind of hanging out there.
Absolutely. That's what makes these types of attacks so dangerous. Instead of immediately triggering alarms, the attacker took their time, learning the company's internal processes. They studied payment cycles, read past invoice emails, and figured out how the accounts payable team communicated. Then, at the perfect moment, they crafted an email that looked exactly like a real invoice from their vendor. The format, the wording, even the timing, it all matched previous transactions. The only thing different, the bank account details had been swapped.
Okay, let me guess, because everything looked legitimate. No one even questioned it.
That's right. Their finance team wired hundreds of thousands of dollars, thinking they were just paying another routine invoice. By the time the real vendor followed up about the missing payment, the money was already gone.
Wow, that is terrifying. I mean, and these aren't IT people either. They're just regular employees doing their jobs and trusting their email systems.
That's a real issue. Businesses don't get hacked because they're reckless. They get hacked because cyber criminals are getting smarter. In this case, the attackers played the long game, using patience and social engineering instead of brute force. After the breach, the company realized they needed more than just password resets and damage control. They needed a way to stop these kind of attacks before they even had a chance to succeed.
And that's where SIEM comes in.
Yep, we installed our SIEM to continuously monitor their environment, and the difference was clear. Within just a few days, SIEM flagged multiple unauthorized login attempts from locations outside the company's normal operations. If SIEM had been in place earlier, it would have detected early warning signs, like logins from unusual locations, changes to email forwarding rules, or a sudden increase in finance-related email activity. Instead of just collecting logs, SIEM actively analyzes them for hidden threats, alerting businesses before attackers can cause financial harm.
Yeah, that's awesome because at that point, instead of relying on someone noticing that something is off, Seam would have just handled it automatically.
Absolutely. And here's the best part. Since implementing SIEM, they haven't had a single security incident. Now, instead of reacting to attacks, they're preventing them. Their finance team, once shaken by the breach, now has complete confidence that their systems are being monitored 24/7. Instead of manually reviewing emails and questioning every invoice, they have real-time AI-powered security doing the work for them.
That's a huge shift. They went from playing defense to actually being proactive about their security.
That's the goal. Cybercriminals don't need to break down doors when they can crawl through an unlocked window. SIEM locks those windows before attackers can even get a foot inside. For SMBs, this means fewer disruptions, lower financial risk, and the confidence that their security isn't left to chance. The key takeaway here is that SIEM is more than just a security tool. It's a business enabler. It provides proactive threat detection, real-time visibility, and a measurable ROI, helping SMBs not only protect their data, but also build long-term resilience against evolving threats.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Perimeter Perspective. If you found this useful and want to keep up with the latest in cybersecurity and IT, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.
For more resources, insights, and to grab your free guide, SIEM Essentials, Protecting Your Business in a Modern Threat Landscape, head over to nextperimeter.com. Not sure if SIEM is right for your business? Schedule a free consultation with our team at Next Perimeter today. We'll walk you through the best security strategy for your needs.
Have a question or a topic you'd like us to cover? We'd love to hear from you. Reach out on social media or email us at perspective@nextperimeter.com.
Until next time, stay secure, stay informed, and remember, the perimeter isn't just a boundary, it's your foundation for growth.
See you soon.